Hello, everyone, and thank you all so much for joining us. I see you all streaming in from the wait room and getting connected to audio, so I think I'll give it just about 30 seconds or so while everybody else kind of gets tuned in, and then we'll get started. All right, we are at a 2:01 for those of us on East Coast time, so I want to get us started because we have some super exciting content today. So my name is Victoria Jones. I'm the Senior Director of Data at NHSA, and I am here in my capacity as part of the Parent Gauge team. And I'm so excited to welcome you to the first webinar in our In the Trenches Family Engagement webinar series. This is a 3-part series, so today is the very first one. And if you're up for it, we impress you after today. We hope to see you next Tuesday at the same time, which will be the 21st, and the following Tuesday also at the same time, 2 p.m. Eastern, on the 28th. If any of your colleagues are missing today, we're going to have the recording and resources posted to the resource page after the session. And you can tell them to go watch that and then join us for the next two. As far as a few other housekeeping things, we will make sure to share the slides and get those up on the resource page, I think after this presentation, where the recording will be as well. You'll also be able to get a certificate at the end, which I believe will be emailed out to you. My team can correct me if I'm wrong. And as you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to throw them in the chat box. We are going to save them for the Q&A at the end, so we should hopefully get to everything. And I see lots of people already saying hello in the chat. We're so excited, and highly recommend that everyone let us know where you're tuning in from, what your role is. And we're really excited to have you here today. And so with all of that, I'm going to pass this over to the real person responsible for organizing this whole series, which is Lucrecia Delgado, another member of our Parent Gauge team. And her role is really going to be to introduce our amazing speaker today. So take it away.
Okay, well, good morning and afternoon to everyone today. With us is Maria Valdez, and she is the Community Wellness Coordinator for CommUnify SB Head Start here by me in California. She has begun a mental health wellness program that she was gracious enough to say yes to sharing with us today. I could go on and on about her, but I'm going to let her talk. So Maria, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lucrecia. Thank you all for being here this morning or this afternoon. So yes, my name is Maria Valdez. I am part of CommUnify, a community action agency in the county of Santa Barbara. So I've been working for CommUnify for the past 14 years. As I started as a family service advocate, I have also been a role in family child care coordinator, and currently I am the wellness coordinator for our agency. I am also a mental health first aid instructor. I am certified in English and in Spanish to train. And also I am I am a verger and a coach for On the Verge, California, where we teach personal, interpersonal, and professional development. So I'm located in the city of Santa Maria. So I was born and raised here, Central Coast, California. So hello from sunny California today. It's a little bit cold, but nothing we can't handle. So I'm going to get into it because we have a lot to share today. How we started our CommUnify program, our community program, and who funds it. We are paired with the Head Start, or Children's Services Head Start here in the county, Santa Barbara County. What happened was that there was a community mental health assessment launched in the fall of 2021 in the county of Santa Barbara, which was really to assess the local mental health needs of our community as a result of the pandemic impact. There was an American Rescue Plan Act funded services that developed throughout the community to support, that was supported also by the state and local fiscal recovery fund. The services were based on the feedback given from over 5,000 community-wide county participants. And what happened was that they needed to create activities that were offered to the countywide in English and in Spanish. Through this fund, it also became part of our Head Start program, where we wanted to also get to our Head Start families. So it was like, okay, here is the money that create a program that will help benefit our Head Start families. And this is like all the other community partners that are involved in this fund was create like activities like Zumba, walking groups, community gardening, mental health first aid workshops, stress busters, training in psychological first aid, and certifications for skills and psychological recovery, all free services, all free trainings, and all for the community. All those that have been impacted by all that has been going on of a result of the pandemic of COVID. So our mental health first aid is also being provided for all our families within the countywide Head Start program. So then they decided that we were a good match to get this work started. So then this is how our program came about. So then this program was to create a role, which was the coordinator, which was me, to be able to come into this, to our Head Starts, and to work with our staff to really develop a program that would work. So then we started planning. So then this is our project. Our community, we thought, okay, what do we need? What do we need to bring to our families? So they decided we needed to build community gatekeepers at each of our centers, the family service advocates, which are our frontline staff, next to our policy council members, that they would build a team to be able to support our families and to be able to be those people that families could come to and talk to. And then like we had to get a curriculum that would work and that has been research-based. And so then we started with our mental health first aid curriculum. I became certified as an instructor to be able to be on site and to be able to provide this training for all our staff. So all our frontline staff to get trained in this curriculum, and then provide them also staff wellness, because that is also part of our mental health first aid curriculum. And as we all found out, when we started presenting this to our staff, they're like, wait a minute. They're like, we're still going through, the pandemic has never officially been over, and we're still kind of dealing with the repercussions of what the pandemic has left us. So then as we're talking and we're like, well, we're going to train you in the mental health first aid, and you're going to know how to, see signs and symptoms of mental health issues. And we're going to be able to reduce stigma about mental health. And we're really going to work on staff wellness. And then, so then as it started evolving, we realized that the staff was really like, they pushed back. They gave us like, wait a minute, our plates are already full. We're already burnt out. We're already understaffed. We cannot do anything else. We cannot be there for our families because we are barely surviving. We are barely getting by. And I really had to take a moment to kind of really think about how we were going to do this, because this was already a project. We already had the money. We really had to do something. We couldn't just say, no, well, our staff can't do it. And I think just like us, a lot of the staff in our Head Start programs have really kind of, took a hit because we did lose a lot of staff. Our families have been impacted from the days we have to close, from the days that, what we realize is that as we're serving a low income community, and our mission is to give stability to that community, that our staff became unstable as well. Like they didn't have the childcare. They might have had the job because we were still somewhat working, but we were working from home, and then just dealing with that transition, still figuring out how our older children were going to be in school or not in school or on Zoom, and dealing with them still having to perform a job. So that just took a lot from each and every one of us. We can't deny that the pandemic has impacted us, because it has. So then as we started really talking to staff, we really needed to know, okay, what do we need to do first? So then that takes us here. So that we needed to learn when it was time to refuel. And this was really, everyone has a gas gauge, and we're all like, different people. Some of us refill when it's on empty, or where we're on red, or maybe you're the type that refills when you're at a half a tank. And so then it just depends what your thing is, right? But it's like, how do we know when do we need to recharge? When is it time that it's time for us And are we self-aware to know of how we feel when it's like, is it already when we're bickering and fighting with people? Is it when we're crying after work, or really kind of taking on these unhealthy habits just to be able to cope, just to return to work the next day and to deal still with all the things that are happening, like with our own family. So we really have to kind of just take, instead of starting with our let's just train our frontline staff with mental health, is like, we needed to learn how to take care of ourselves. And instead of just going into like, oh, let's do self-care, because self-care in the past couple of years has really been burnt out. And it's just not about, not that it doesn't work, but it's not just about, let's go get our nails done, let's go get a massage, let's go get a facial. All those things are wonderful and they work, but we really need to learn a different way of really taking care of ourselves. So as we're learning, and as we're learning where we are, how we feel at every stage, and how, what are our symptoms when they're red, and when are our symptoms when we are, when we are at half, and how do we feel when we're at 100, which a lot of us have not felt, at 100% in a very long time. So then those were kind of like a little bit of things that we kind of had to talk about. So what we did first is we really had to bring in our wellness first, above all things first, before we train mental health first aid. We had to teach our staff, our frontline staff, our family service advocates, because they are the head of our Head Start centers. They're the ones that connect with the families. They're the ones that help in the classroom. They're the ones that, they were hired as family service advocates, but sometimes they really don't get to do their job because of all the short staff that we've had. They're the ones in the classrooms and really supporting the families the little that they can. So we decided to implement the Creating a Healthier Life, a step-by-step guide to wellness, which is the 8 elements of wellness. And so then, as today is February 14th, Valentine's Day, we want to give our mental health some love, right? And it is green because mental health color is always shown as a green color. So in May, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, and we color it as green. So that's why I have my little hearts up as we go, and just representing today, as we have to remind ourselves, as we're giving everybody else the love, that we have to give that love to ourselves first. And I think that's where we're lacking. We are, as family service advocates, and this is why we do this job, is that our hearts is to serve others. And that's always been the case, but who takes care of you when you need it the most? And so then this is a way that we learn how to do wellness for ourselves. And so then when we're talking about, the wellness and the aspects of wellness, it's like, so there's so many parts of it, and occupational is just one part of our lives. In order to create a balanced life, there's so many things that we can grab on from all these elements. And so then we even talk about like environmental, we talk about how we can just change the scenery of our home or our work, or how we can just volunteer at our local agencies, or how do we adopt a block to clean it up? How do we remember to recycle? Gardening. A lot of people find that wellness and the stress reliever in planting and growing things. Even just maybe having a garage sale, right? You're cleaning out your house, you're decluttering and stuff. I think as teachers, we are also, like to keep things, because like, oh, this will serve for something else. This will work for something, like I can create something. But then we kind of start building up those things that are just left over. When we talk about emotional, those are also activities that touch our senses, our smell, our touch, our sight and sound. I always think of emotional as us in Head Start. We have a cozy corner for the children. What is our cozy corner as an adult to like really kind of touch our emotional elements? What do we need? Do we need a hug today? Sometimes it's been, when was the last time you got a hug or you gave a hug? And that just kind of refills you and really kind of takes that stress away. And so even just, I think intellectually, what kind of things are we filling our mind up of? Positive affirmations. Are we like listening to books? Are we reading books? Are we giving our brain some exercises? Are we having those good conversations with people? I think during the pandemic, we really lost that connection with others. And so then just even, those break room chats, right? You stop at the water to fill up your water bottle, and you start, hey, how was your weekend? And so then nobody is really asking those questions, or really talking about like what we do outside of work. When we get to community and social, I think that's also a big one that we lost during COVID, right? Everybody kind of just formed their own little bubble. Kind of just it's my family and that's it. But we really need to connect outside with the world and like kind of form these networks and have these social events. As we know now, I think a lot of things are starting to open up and it just feels different. And it feels nice to be able to connect again with people. And so then we need that. So, as we have our coworkers, we have coworkers that go home alone at night and that sometimes we need to bring them back. So even just having things when it's occupational, like, hey, let's have a game night with other staff members. Also, when we touch our financial, we could, I think the biggest thing that we hear is that we are not paid enough. But as we're getting paid more, are we able to follow a budget? We can get paid a lot more and that money will still go if we're not set on a budget or know how to manage our finances. One of the things that also came out as we're talking to staff about this element is that because we lost a lot of people during the pandemic, they're like, we really weren't prepared and we should think about our estate planning. It's like, what happens to all my things when I leave? And like, even though we don't want to have those conversations, it's like, I lost a parent and, she had a will, but she left it to like 7 siblings. And now we're all fighting because everyone wants to do something different with it. So even to have those kind of conversations about what do we need to do to prepare in these kind of cases, spiritual element is also something very, it means a lot of things. It's not just a religious thing. It could be me going to the beach and putting my feet in the sand and really grounding myself. It could be being part of a prayer group. So inviting all these things to like our staff, in occupational is how are our relationship with our coworkers? When we see the percentage of the biggest complaint our Head Start staff has is about other coworkers they cannot get along with. So it's like sometimes we need to really mend these relationships or find out what's going on. And really taking that time to socialize with them, finding out because we can't come to work and leave everything at the door. We come as a whole person. We come with, we're a mom, we're a daughter, we are a wife, we are all these things. We are not just like the teacher, we are not just the FSA. And so it's really hard to kind of leave all these things at home. One of the big things is also that I think I see a lot of people kind of go around is the element of physical, where it's like, what does our nutrition look like? Our physical activity, our sleep, are we taking our medications on time? Are we keeping those doctor appointments for our physical health as well? Like how many times have we canceled an appointment because we're short staffed? All these little things is like, and as we gather our social elements around our occupational is like, how do we keep each other accountable to making sure that we're really, really taking care of ourselves? So see, this goes way on beyond just self-care. So, this is what we're teaching our staff. It's like, how do you take care of yourself and how you can grab out of all these things that can just bring you so much relief. And it's all about doing something you really enjoy and kind of bringing that back into your life. Because I think that's what we kind of forgot during the pandemic. Maybe we had a ritual of how we did things, but that changed. And so now we have to adapt to this new way of, okay, how do I get back on track? How do I really kind of get myself out of the red in the gas, you look at the gas tank gauge, how do I get myself out of that red zone and into like where I feel good enough to be able to support others, not others just who I work with, but even in my own family. How am I the person that they can come to talk to if there's something that's kind of going on? So those are our 8 elements. And this is what we present to our staff to like, okay, let's create a plan now. So all of our staff are now doing wellness journey, individual goal, SMART goal. So we all have a SMART goal. We pick one of these elements and we're like, okay, this is something that I'm going to work on. And as a coordinator, I'm supporting them to make sure that they're I'm holding them accountable to kind of work on something. So this is how it's working for us right now. So that's what we present. So other things that we also have presented to our staff that is part of this wellness program is that we support them in the support of a check-in. So twice a month, I have Zoom links that are open at certain times so they can just drop in. And then there's either a group there or it could just be one more individual. And what we do is just like, this is an open Zoom, a check-in, a landing pad, where it's like we come and say, hey, like, how are you doing? Talk to us. Or are you having issues? If there's something that you want to talk about a family that you're kind of dealing with, I was like, let's talk, because we all do the same job. So maybe we can give each other encouragement one way or another. And then just to see how you're doing. And so then I think this is how we show people that they are heard, they are seen, and we acknowledge that they're there. And, and this is what happens, when you give this acknowledgement to staff, just appreciation that this is important to us, that their well-being is important to us, that we want them to be well. So we support them with the wellness journey, SMART goal. We're also doing agency social groups where we want to have that game night. We on a Saturday morning, we're like, hey, we're going to be at this hiking trail, like come join us. Maybe those that don't have others to go and do these things with, that they want to explore new things, like, hey, we're going to be out here, come join us, let's meet. And as the weather's getting a little bit better, I think we're just going to see so many more activities kind of come up, as even, adopt the block, our community, making sure that our own space coming to work, that we feel safe and that we like the environment that we're, kind of looking at. And then also as part of our agency resources, we've been connecting a lot of them to our SAVE program. Our SAVE program is an employee assistant program that we have. And I've had, a lot of staff to schools like, hey, Maria, like I've actually called and like I'm talking to a counselor now. I'm like, great, this is what we need you to do. And a lot of people, it's really hard just to even make that first step, just because of all the stigma that is around mental health. And so then that's kind of another thing that we're trying to do, is like, just as it can happen to you, it can happen to me tomorrow. And we really need to support each other. And it's like everybody feels like they're alone because nobody wants to talk about it. And so then now that we're actually opening the door to talking about things, we're really feeling that connection and networking with other people. So we have, as part of our agency resources, we also offer the app, the Calm meditation app. Like we can all have it. We have that available to us. There's also a Headspace app that is available to us that also walks us through meditation. We connect those that participate in our agency medical insurance to their mental health plans. Each insurance has a different mental health plan that they can offer to staff as well. And as well as our agency, we started a wellness committee. They had been focusing on how we can compensate and show our staff that they are appreciated. But after attending the Staff Wellness Institute brought to us by the National Center of Health, Behavioral Health and Safety, we're really starting to promote the staff wellness, well-being of our staff. And so our goal right now is to create a committee that represent all the roles that are part of our children's services, so that each have representation in our agency, and they can tell us what they need as staff to feel supported. And so then we can continue to grow on our wellness. What do we need just so that all staff feel heard? And so then it's really about, focusing on our staff strengths, because we also, we were also of, the low-end staff. We want to retain our staff, and we want to be able to bring more staff on and to bring them into a different culture, right? We have to change the culture of our agency or our program, where we're really encouraging people to take their personal days, not to miss any of their doctor appointments, and to use their vacation days, as they can, because this is what's going to make the difference, that they can actually feel. I actually did have just a staff like Maria. She was like, I actually took a personal day off. And I'm like, that's great. Like, the work is going to be there, but you need to be well. And in order to be able to do your job, you need to be, take this time that belongs to you and use it for whatever purpose that it is that you need. So then, I'm just hearing so much good feedback about how we're really kind of changing what we're doing at our agency. Then now, after we get our staff well and they're on a road to really kind of feeling like they can do this, then we present our mental health first aid. And so then we're thinking now it's wellness journey over our mental health challenges. So then this is a mental health first aid is a research-based curriculum from the National Council for the Mental Wellbeing, and it has been very effective. The mental health first aid is a course that teaches how to identify, understand, and respond to the signs of mental illness and substance use or disorder. The training, it gives us a skill to reach out and provide initial help and support to someone who may be developing a mental health or substance use problem or just experience a crisis. So we learn in this program, we learn how to apply the ALGE plan in non-crisis and crisis situations, which is approach, assess for risk of suicide or harm, and assist, listen non-judgmentally, give reassurance and information, encourage appropriate professional help, and encourage self-help and other support strategies. So our staff is learning these things of how to be able to apply to our families, well, first to themselves and then to the families. We also learn the terms and definitions of what is stigma, what is mental health, and what is mental health challenges. So I think that's our biggest thing, is like really about the stigma. And like I said earlier, people feel like they're alone because no one wants to talk about these things. And now that we're really kind of sitting at the table and saying, this is happening to me, and this is what I'm kind of going through, and these are the things that are making me better, then this is when others say, you know what, you're right. I'm also have been having a difficult time kind of sleeping, or just like, I'm still grieving, from my loss that I had a year or two ago. Like I haven't fully, completely feel re-energized in that sense. So as we're talking about, okay, we've got our wellness, we talk to our staff, we're working with them and making sure that they're well and that they have a plan. So now that our staff is more prepared to be those gatekeepers that we originally thought of, at each of our Head Start centers, to be able to open up those conversations around mental health, at our parent meetings, to be able to introduce what wellness is and mental health is. So we've decided that we want to do a series of cafecitos that touch around these difficult topics around grief, wellness, mental health challenges, and depression. As we're, finding out, these are the main things that are kind of just come up throughout the pandemic. And so we really want to target those. But I also want to make sure that our staff is ready to have these conversations, with the families. So our next thing is to train our Head Start families as well. We will be during the summer offering these trainings for our families, whoever wants to take those. And then also provide them what, activities for their own wellness, which is a little bit on the lower. We just want to be able to offer them, like, these are your options. This is what also self-care looks like. And it's about taking care of, your wellness. And so then our program, I think, came at a full circle this past Friday. One of our staff took the initiation to say, like, I want to have a cafecito. I want to invite my parents, like, after taking the mental health first day, like, I really understand a lot of things now. I said, and I'm like, great, I'm going to be there. I want to support you. We had about seven or eight families that showed up. It was in the morning. They had cafe, they had fun, they had a little bit of breakfast. And so they all were there. They felt welcome. And this was the first in person after 3 years of not being able to have something like this. They all kind of came together. And they were really having this conversation, tell us what's been going on for you. And they're like, I'm exhausted. I am so tired. For the past 3 years, it's just been so inconsistent. I'm really tired. I'm still dealing with grief. My children being in school and out of school has really caused them, like, I've had to take my child to the emergency room because they were having a panic attack, an anxiety attack. And like, I didn't know what that looked like. And I thought, like, they had a physical pain inside of them and I didn't know what that was. I know what that looks like now. We had to make different decisions for our family, where I'm now having to homeschool my kids because they cannot go into a public school anymore because of this anxiety that they have, and because I want them to be successful. And even just making that decision about, like, having to go back to work. Like, I was ready to go back to work. But I can't, knowing that my kids are going through these things. So I really had to make a tough decision that also has impacted our financial stability. So I have to kind of make these decisions of what's best. So it's like, and then just losing the network and support. Just recently, one of the parents was there. She said, like, I was affected by the floods and now I've been displaced. And then I'm also getting a call from the school saying my kid is truant because he hasn't showed up. I'm like, well, I'm not even home. How do you want me to send him to school? And so then these, like, things that they're dealing with. And I'm like, that can happen to any of us at any moment. And so we just want to be here to support her. And we're like, let's start on some wellness. She goes, I had never thought about that. I always wait till I'm like, want to punch a hole in the wall. This was her expression. And then I'm like, wait a minute. She's like, well, what makes you happy? What really she goes, well, I like my Mexican music and scrubbing my baseboards. That brings me calmness. And I'm like, great, then do that more often. She goes, I will. She goes, I never thought about having to really do something before I kind of lost it. And I'm like, yes, this is the whole point. It's like, we need to do things before we're at the red, when we're like, we're having a tantrum, or we're crying, we're like, nobody helps me. Like, no, like, let's get there before, let's do something for you before you get to that place. And now, as well as we know, like this stress and this anxiety kind of has gone through all of us, is really now bringing out chronic illness. We hear people with high blood pressure. We really hear people of like, I really need to take care of my health now because I have all these things that I didn't have 3 years ago. And so that we know that stress is very dangerous for us. So we really, as you know, as women, as men, that we're growing older, we really need to take care of our health and making sure that we're kind of not have all this stress as we have in the past 3 years. So we really want to just share what is mental health and the importance of wellness, and that what can we do to control and when everything else is out of our control. So I think they all walked away just feeling like they can take something and kind of work on the wellness. If that's all they can do, then that's what they were going to do. So I think that made me really just happy, just that we were able to kind of talk to this family that was really kind of going through a crisis. And so then I think that just kind of shows us, that this program about really taking care of our staff first, and that they go through the process of really kind of going through the wellness and putting something in place for themselves, then going through our mental health first aid about learning how to do signs and symptoms, or noticing those signs and symptoms. Just as we notice those signs and symptoms when we're sick, it's like, when you have those running eyes or the nasal congestion, you can kind of tell that something's wrong. And so then as we're learning about mental health first aid and learning about those signs and symptoms, then we're able to notice which ones of our families need a little bit more help. And so then that's where we're at right now. So, and, I'm saying, like, I've heard, after having a couple of the wellness journey presentations with our FSAs, we just recently had one for site supervisors, because at site supervisors, I think they need the wellness too. They might not be on the front lines, but they are modeling. They're modeling for our staff how to take care of themselves. So if you're a manager and you're sitting at your desk during lunch, that is not a good model, because then you have this expectation that you want your employees to kind of also hold. So you need to either walk away from your desk and know that you're taking your breaks and that you're taking care of yourself, because we want you to last a long time. So I've had, a lot of comments from our staff. It says, I'm inspired. You inspired me today to call a friend and invite them over for dinner and laughs. She goes, it's been 3 years since we've actually done something like this. I'm like, that's great. She goes, yeah, we're doing it again next weekend. I'm like, that's amazing. That's what I want to hear. And so then as we also, some of the comments, and you could see some of the, those are quotes from people, some have said, like, I wish this was in place last summer when I was struggling. She goes, I was having such a hard time. She goes, but I'm happy the agency feels a high need for this program. So I'm getting that feedback from our own staff about saying, like, I think this is what we needed. This is what I needed a year ago. And I'm like, yeah, I think we needed it. We all needed it a year and a half ago, but it's here now. So let's take advantage of it. So, this is what we're doing for our staff. And I really have got like a lot of, even though in the beginning it was a lot of pushback, but it's really about hearing what staff had to say and about being able to adjust this program to them. It really has been something amazing. And we're just kind of, like I said, just this past Friday is when our program really came full circle about having the cafecito, and it's trickling down now to our Head Start families. And they were really seeing staff kind of taking charge about their own wellness, about what am I going to do for myself? How am I going to take care of my mental health today? Whether it's just connecting with another person, whether it's going for a walk during the day, about leaving their desk, like, what is it that I need to do for me today? So this is what we're doing. And it seems like, it's really working for us. So, and yeah, I think my last quote is that sometimes we need accountability to take care of ourselves. We really need somebody to hold us to it, because we are worth it. Just as we take care of everyone else, sometimes there's no one to take care of us, so we need to do that. And so today on Valentine's Day, I think before you give love to anyone else, please give that love to yourself. First and foremost, you are important. We are important. And in order to do this work full of passion, I think that's where we have to be. One of my favorite quotes is also, you can't pour from an empty cup. So you need to fill your cup up to be able to pour on to others. So that's what I want to leave you with today. My name is Maria Valdez, and I am from CommUnify for Community Wellness Coordinator. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, we did get one or two things in the chat. And one, thank you so much for sharing all this, Maria. This is so exciting to see. I saw some other good head nods during the presentation. And I will throw out, yes, please throw any comments, suggestions, questions in the chat. We'll read them out. We did get one earlier. You mentioned the acronym ALGE, and someone was wondering if you could go back to what that stands for.
Sure. Should I go back to my PowerPoint, or let's go back?
I think it'd be helpful for people just to see the acronym and kind of remember what those.
Oh, okay. I didn't put it up on, but it's ALGE, ALGEE. And it's approach, assess for risk of suicide or harm, and assist. L is for listen non-judgmentally. G is give reassurance and information. E is for encourage appropriate professional help. And the other E is encourage self-help and other support strategies. And you can find that on mentalhealthfirstaid.com.org. I will send, I promise Lucretia, I will send a list of all the websites and all the resources that I've been using to build this program.
Awesome. Yes, and we will make sure that the slides and that resource page or list from Maria goes up on the resource page on NHSA's website afterwards. Are there other questions for Maria? You've got 20 minutes here where you can pick her brain and learn as many details as you want. How do you get the mental health first aid training, Maria?
So there, if you go to the website, there's a lot of instructors, and there could be a lot of instructors in your community. You set up a training day, and then they can also do that for you. You could also be an instructor. It's a process of going to get certified as an instructor, but mental health first aid is usually the place where you can look for trainings. They have them all over the country.
Awesome. And how have families reacted since you started implementing this? Are they noticing a change in their family advocates and how they engage with them?
Yes. So what this past Friday, the staff knows that they're more open to talk about these topics. You know, before it's really hard to want to say, like, let's bring this topic up. And so then as the family service advocates become more confident after they know a little bit more, they're able to have these conversations with their families, and now they felt like they have a person in the center they can come to, you know, if they have any questions, if they need any resources. As family service advocates, it's something they already do, right? You know, they connect the families to resources. And so then this is very specific when we're actually handing out the mental health first aid resource guide. And as also our program is to put more information out into the centers through our Learning Genie. Where we're, you know, sending out the information that what is 988, right? It's the suicide prevention number. What are mental health challenges? And so we're sending a little bit of information out as we're, you know, as the months go by, just so that they can reach each, you know, all of our families, and they have that. And also the 988 number, they have these videos that talk about the process, about what happens when you call, you know, who do you connect to, and, you know, where they connect you to. They usually connect you to local resources or local crisis centers. And so it's just sometimes that first step of initiating that first call is very scary. And so then our FSAs know that they can be there with the families to make the call, just the way I have been with our FSAs to make sometimes that call that they need to be connected to these resources. And so then that's how we are. And that's how they, I think, believe that the families have seen the impact in our family service advocates.
So somebody is very interested in your cafecito idea and wondering how you facilitate those conversations.
So what we did, it was a small group. So we called it a wellness table talk. And so then we showed up, we introduced ourselves, we introduced what we're kind of doing and how we're working with the staff. And then we started talking. we started talking about what's been going on for them, what's been the, first we set up an agreement. We set up agreements that we all kind of agree to at the table. We use I statements, we hold the confidentiality. We really create a safe space within the group that the people that are there, they're like, hey, this is really important. And we want to honor everyone's stories in the sense like it stays in this group so that it becomes gossip or anything like that outside, outside the groups. And so then we just start talking. And as the families feel comfortable enough to share, they start sharing what's going on with them. And so then from there, we just kind of, we give everyone a chance to introduce themselves, to introduce who their child is in the classroom, and then just kind of share about what's really what's been going on for them in the past year, past 2 years. And some of them are more than free to, they're sharing very freely. And others, it might take 1 or 2 cafecitos before they actually kind of let us know what's going on. But the thing is that we're doing is we're having the family service advocate in these groups. And so they know that she is the person of contact if there's something that does come up. And so then they're able to kind of talk to them and to have these also conversations when I'm not there. So then this is how we always just connect them kind of back to their family service advocate. So yes.
Awesome, thank you. I know there's some logistical comments in the chat. There's wondering if there's more of this from you, Maria. We've got Maria for this hour that she's prepared all this wonderful information for you. We do have 2 more webinars in the series, but they're focused on kind of slightly different topics and for different roles within your programs, but would love to have you join us for those and continue the conversation. And yes, you should be able to use the same link to get into the next 2. Are there other questions for Maria? Okay, I'll pause for a minute and see if any more questions show up in the chat. All right, well, I'll keep one little eye here, but Maria, I want to say on behalf of everybody, thank you so much for this amazing presentation. I don't know if you saw in the chat right when you first finished your slides, but everybody was throwing in there that this was really wonderful and such great information. It's wonderful to see all this work you're doing in your program. So thank you so much for being willing to take all this time to prepare. I know you and Lucretia have talked a lot and pulled together this amazing presentation. So a big round of applause from me and everybody here to say thank you. And if there are no other questions, we'll call it a day and hopefully see you all and more of your colleagues next week, same time, same place. We'll look forward to seeing you then.
Thank you. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Lucretia.